Good morning, Thunder fans. It is Tuesday, April 1st. Your Oklahoma City Thunder just took down the Chicago Bulls by a score of 145 to 117. Welcome to Morning Thunder, everybody. And look, this is one of those games, and we've had lots of them this season, where you really start to get the historical precedence of what this Thunder team is, what they are accomplishing. And I think it's one of those things where, as the season winds down, you really start to see the scope of everything. And, obviously the 10 straight wins are phenomenal in the moment. But you then look at the 49 double-digit wins this season, second in NBA history, just one behind the current leader in history, which the 96 Chicago Bulls had 50. So that's massive, of course. But the Thunder also sealed the best record against an opposing conference in NBA history, because they can't lose more than 2 games against the East from here on out. And the previous record were the Warriors with 3 losses. Absolutely massive accomplishment there for the Thunder. Just, we've never seen dominance like that against a West against an East, or an East against a West. That's unbelievable. But let's talk about the game itself, because there'll be a lot of time to talk about history, all of that. And look, this was a big game for a lot of reasons. It's the return of Josh Giddey. Got an incredible ovation. Weird performance in a way, because he didn't shoot the ball very well. Almost got a triple-double, but ultimately he, among the rest of the Bulls, did not look great. This was an absolute failure for Chicago, because as we were talking about with me and Jameson on Sunday on the previous episode, the idea that you can run zone against this Thunder team and have it be successful because the Bulls did it, because the Timberwolves did it, that's not true. The Timberwolves got very, very lucky in that crazy comeback. Because normally what happens if you run zone against the Thunder is they will shoot the lights out. And that's exactly what OKC did last night. And obviously no better person to point to than Isaiah Joe, who was absolutely unbelievable. 19 in the first half, 5 of 7 from 3, but finished with a career-high 31. Tied his career high in threes made with 8. Joe was every bit the impact from beyond the arc that you want to see out of him. Hard to say he's not the story of the game, but if you look at just the whole performance, it's more than just one guy getting hot. Everybody played well. Everyone was pulling on that rope, and it was impressive. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a very cool, very interesting game. He had 12 assists, which is a season high. And for a while, he wasn't really scoring. He was kind of sitting under that 20-point mark until around the third quarter. Kind of looked like he might get pulled just because the Thunder were up 40 for the majority of this game. And he kind of got hot towards the end, made some shots, got back over that 20-point mark, and finished with he was 9 for 14 from the field. So crazy efficient day for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Hartenstein, great performance from him. No mask, so that was pretty neat, to see, him show up, with the mask. I'm kind of going to miss the mask. It was a cool look, but if you're not comfortable with it, obviously take it off. So great performance from him as well. I believe he had 14 points. It wasn't the best Chet Holmgren game, which kind of says a lot about how this team operates. When your second best or, 2A, 2B player, only has 5 points, isn't exactly, rolling in the way that, most NBA teams need their players of that caliber to roll, and you still just stomp a team. That shows a lot about your depth. And of course, I definitely want to talk about Jalen Williams. Great performance as well from Dub. He was a catalyst for this team really getting off to a hot start, sort of a takeover game from him, and it's that offensive performance that you really want to see out of a guy, who is going to have to carry some load in the playoffs, obviously, offensively. It can't only be Shai. The pundits who say that it can't be just Shai getting the free throw line, which we all know is garbage. He does more than just that. And it can't just be the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander show. You need to see performances from a star level player, because, these role players, you never know. You aren't sure. That sort of thing kind of, don't want to say vanishes in the playoffs, but they tend to not show up the same way that your stars show up. So Jalen Williams We need to see that leap out of him in the playoffs. I personally think we're going to get it. And really, that's all what this whole last run here is about, is, as Mark Daignault has said often, sharpening the blade, getting ready for the postseason. And I think that's the thing that's honestly the most impressive, and why we're seeing these historic numbers, why we're seeing the net rating tied for the best all time with the 96 Bulls, and, it was the 44th game with a 20-point lead. This is a dominant team, a historically dominant regular season team. And the reason you're seeing that is because there's never been any lulls. I mean, sure, you might have a game where they're, maybe not on their level, but it's jarring to see almost if everything's not working or not clicking. They usually find a way to figure it out. This is a team that is pedal to the metal, but not reckless. They're not. Mark isn't Tom Thibodeau and burning his guys out. He is very calculated with how he's managing rotation, managing injury. And you can tell that this team feels like they're getting better as they're nearing the end of the season. I don't know if they're... I know you're obviously... You look at the injury sheet and you see guys questionable. Chet Hart and Jalen Williams, or Jay Will, all were listed as questionable for the game. All three played. Aaron Wiggins, has the... Achilles tendonitis that, I know some of us have been curious about. That's a question for Jameson. I'm sure he's fine. This is just injury management and just trying to make sure the guys are healthy, confident, and running at a full clip into the postseason. And they clearly are playing some of their best basketball of the year, no doubt. Because this isn't a bad Bulls team. Like, this is one of the hotter teams in the league, and the Thunder ragdolled them. That's incredibly impressive. This is an incredibly impressive win for OKC. So you got to be pumped about that, for sure. Of course, the next game up, the Detroit Pistons on Wednesday night. That's a late tip for ESPN. This one got flexed, which happens. And, just a quick little look around the league, what we've got going on last night. The Clippers took out the Magic, so, they're still kind of trying to fight to get out of that play-in, because I don't blame them. The Kings took a tough loss in Indianapolis against the Pacers. The Grizzlies continue to slide a bit, granted against the Boston Celtics, who have been just red hot in the month of March, really have been on the same level as the Thunder in some degree. They only lost one game in the month of March. Same with OKC. The Dallas Mavericks confoundingly lost to the Brooklyn Nets after Daniel Gafford returns. So the Mavs and Kings are just scrapping it out at the bottom of the play-in. And then the Los Angeles Lakers, of course, last night on TNT, just eked out the Houston Rockets 104-98 in that race. So this whole East or Western Conference setup it's tight. I mean, outside of the top, where the Thunder are leading by a historic margin, and it's really narrow. If you look at the margin between essentially 8 and 2, and to some degree, the Clippers aren't in the 2 seed. Let's be honest, but it's so narrow in the West that it's really hard to tell who's going to end up where, what the Thunder's playoff path is going to be. But I don't know. I think we could see the Rockets slipping out of that 2 seed. We'll see how it goes. This final stretch is going to be fascinating, and it's very nice to not have to worry about it if you're OKC, because you're sitting pretty at the top. All right, that's all we have for today's Morning Thunder. Special thanks to our producer Jacqueline Ferris for making sure I don't go over or start rambling too much. And thank you all so much for listening. If you like this, make sure to give it a subscription on YouTube, your favorite podcasting app, and rate us 5 stars. We'll see you after the Detroit Pistons game on Wednesday in the morning, because that's going to be a late night. But until then, have a great day, everybody, and Thunder up.